What is going on, beautiful scholars and amazing people? Welcome back to another free community course by I.R. If you're just joining us, whether you are watching this live or on the replay, go ahead and give us some energy inside of the chat or in the comments. Go ahead and introduce yourself. What city you are representing today? I know we got LA and Houston strong in the building today, but go ahead and let us know where you are from, and then also go ahead and put your current hobby. What do you do? Like if you get any type of free time, if you get any type of time to really reflect and express, what is your current hobby? Writing, painting, running, playing board games, playing video games, watching TV, whatever it is. Go ahead and put it in there so we can get to know you. So, little bit of overview of what's going to happen today. This is the Head and Heart Connection. We do got Miss K with us. What's up, Miss K? Hey, there she go right
Hey,
there.
what's up? Hey.
I like your earrings. I appreciate the positive vibe you got going so far.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. So we had a few folks just join us. For those that are just joining, we're about to get started in a second. If you can please go ahead and introduce yourself, put your name, put the city that you are repping, and then go ahead and put what your current hobby is. Parenting could count if you want to count that as your hobby, but go ahead and put what's your hobby in the chat. All right, we got my king, Delvin from Woodland Hills. Shout out to Woodland Hills, the 818, the Great 18. Let's see, visual and fine arts, cooking, games. I see you, Miss K. Love it. Melanin Waves in the building, transforming lives. Yes, all the time.
Yes.
Love seeing your Instagram posts. Shout out to the Bay Area and hobby playing poker. Love it. Love it. Cool.
Okay,
So
that's
jumping
good.
into it. Again, head to head or head to heart connection. We're going to do a short intro and let folks know, if this is your first session, what I.R is and our vision. And then we got Miss K, co-founder of the Abuse is Real project, who's going to do a nice interactive engagement with you all and kind of let y'all know how you can protect your young ones against abuse, and also a few signs and activities. Then we'll do open Q&A, right? Because we know that yes, y'all may have questions, concerns, or maybe even tips that you want to share with folks. So we'll do a nice little open community session, and then we'll go ahead and break and hope that you amazing people have a good weekend. All right. So hopping into it, want to get past this intro so that we can get to the real good stuff. But Institute of Melanated Innovation, we have two very distinct goals. Our first goal is to increase access to Black Studies courses and experiences for our K through 12 youth and community members. I know me myself personally, I didn't take my first AFAM or Black Studies course until college. I was 18 years old. I took Intro to African American Studies, and that's where I learned about Tulsa's Black Wall Street, right? And that's one of the seeds that got planted, so that 5 years later I was able to create the board game. So I always say, what would have happened if I learned about Tulsa's Black Wall Street in fifth grade? Right? What would happen if I would have learned about, let's see, what's another one? Allensworth in sixth grade. What would happen if I grew up learning about Mansa Musa and Queen Saraonya Mangu and Queen Khalifa out here in California? If I knew all of that amazing information as a youth, how would that have impacted my business and my mind? And that's the
Yeah.
type of information and empowerment we want to give our youth. Step two is we want to serve as a think tank and research center focused on solving problems and improving life within the Black community. So, how can we make sure that there is a group of amazing melanated scholars of all ages, whether you're a youth, an elder? We want to bring those minds together so that we can start solving our own problems in the community for sure. So, if you're liking those two things, definitely stick around. IMI is going to be for you. We got three main components. First component is on-demand courses. So we have a course on Mansa Musa, on Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington, on queens and innovators throughout the history, on-demand courses that you can log in and take anytime you like, as well as study guides to help you go through those courses. We got free live events, which you are currently a part of right now. We're going to get to that very shortly. We've had poetry slams in here, writing events, events about money, and every single month we're going to have free community courses just like this to let folks know about this great information. And then last but not least, something that we are still working on is developing an incubator and accelerator space. So if you have your own business, if you have your own nonprofit and you want to take that business or idea to the next level, we're going to want to give you that mentorship, those resources, and really that coaching to get through and make sure your business is successful. So, if you like, again, what you are hearing, either in the replay or the folks that are here live, we appreciate y'all. You can go to imifoundation.com and you can go ahead and start enrolling in the courses. The recording for this session will also be on imifoundation.com afterwards so that you can go there and see this stuff. And on Instagram, we just started our Instagram account yesterday or 2 days ago, actually. So you can go ahead and follow us at IMI Black Studies to get more stuff as well. All right, we got that out the way. Are y'all ready for the head and heart connection? Please help me welcome the co-founder of the A.I.R project, where they are focused on empowering the powerless. They have art of love workshops to really help you express your emotions through art. And they have tons of amazing volunteer opportunities if you want to give back, be a leader, and be a healer inside the community as well. Please help me welcome Miss Karisma, aka Miss K. How you doing?
Thank you so much. Nice introduction also. And I appreciate the platform that you all are providing for youth of color, because myself also did not learn about a lot of these things until college. And actually one of my majors is in ethnic studies. So that's a passion of mine as well. So thank you. Okay, so just a brief overview. Again, my Mrs. K, A.I.R or A.I.R Project. A.I.R stands for Abuse is Real. And our mission is to empower youth of color to defeat abuse and violence through education and expressive arts. So today we're going to talk about the head and heart connection, and we're going to share some information with you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I love to do icebreakers and stuff as well. So let's get started here. Okay, so those of you who are present, or if you're not, or if you're going to be on the replay, these are some questions just to think about while we're going through the head and heart connection slides. So just, have that readily accessible so you can answer some of these questions and stuff like that, just to kind of help you, whenever you may need to think about or reflect back on this information, or to determine what type of space you're in. So now we're going to start with the presentation. There we go. So here we got the head and heart connection. I've already shared our mission. Our vision is to see people of color free from domestic violence, sexual abuse, bullying, and other forms of abuse and violence, and to see people of color lead lives filled with healthy lifestyles, healthy relationships, and mental health, because mental health is so important. So I'm going to have an icebreaker, and then I'm going to share a personal story, and then we will go through talking about the ownership of your body, no secrets, stranger danger, and do a little scenarios, and then we'll take a pledge. Okay, so the icebreaker. I'm so big on words. Like, I love words. I'm one of those people that, like, when they had spelling contests and stuff like that, I love words, and I love languages and stuff too. So word games are a good thing for me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play, have a little word circle activity. And so basically the way it works is the words below are out of order. And so we're going to work together to put them together. The goal is to make sure that each word connect to the next word until the word circle chain is completed. So for an example, we have phone, mobile, book. Well, the connected word circle will be mobile, phone. That makes a word. And then phone, book. That makes a word. So you will see below, we have book, travel, pool, setting, time, smart, guide, down, car, play, and table. So the goal is to put these words in order to where they each one will build upon and link to the other one to make a complete word circle. So I'm gonna give you some time. I don't know how much time you want to give, Devon.
You know, this looks like some hard, intricate stuff here. I'm over here trying to figure it out. But maybe
So
like
we can test it out. We can test it out. Let's see here.
So travel book.
So you can have maybe it's travel book. Then if you do travel book, what word would be next? So after book, what will book go down? Or maybe it could be, maybe we have travel guide.
There we go. You're a professional travel guide.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Travel guide. I don't want to give it all away. Time travel. I think it's like pool table. So you kind of got to figure out, okay, which word will go. So if you got pool table, what will go in front of the word pool?
Travel pool.
Maybe carpool.
Carpool. There we go. Who said that?
So you got carpool, and then you have pool table.
Melanin Way said smart car.
Yes, so see, smart car.
Carpool, pool table. There we go. There we go. So what comes before smart?
Let's see.
Play smart, table smart.
I'm trying to remember.
We were on a roll for a second, team.
Yes, we was on a roll. I'm trying to
well, there's such thing as book smart.
There we go.
Book yes, smart. There is book smart. So if you got book smart, smart car, carpool, pool table.
Yep. So book smart. So now we need something before book. Travel time.
Where would it be time travel? No. Would it time travel? No. Because you can't have travel book also, see. No. If y'all ready, we can go to the next slide so y'all can see how it panned out. Okay.
We want
Okay, so let's see how it goes. Book smart. So you was right who said book smart. Smart car, carpool, pool table, table setting, setting down, downplay, playtime, time travel, and travel guide.
There it is.
So cool. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. So just a trigger warning for those who are watching. I'm gonna just tell a brief story about my personal story. I won't go too far in details, but I myself am a victim or was a victim of abuse and violence. Started as a child, so I've experienced family sexual abuse. Almost if it had not been stopped or caught early on, I probably would not be here. So we'll just say it like that. And that's how severe that was. And I was around 2 years old. And I was by a family member. Then later on in life, I was sexually abused by another family member. And then I was getting bullied in school while I was getting sexual abuse at home. And then I also experienced verbal and physical abuse also as a child, and then end up finding myself in unhealthy relationships, even in domestic violence. So from those experiences, because especially starting at a young age, such a young, tender age, I found myself feeling like, okay, that these are family members who are supposed to love you. And so I often connected just you saying the word I love you to mean that you really do love me. And you can still hit me, you can still be mean to me, you can still make me feel uncomfortable, you can still use me, you can do all those things. But because you said you love me, because my brother or father or someone mother said they love me because they did that, it was already programming me that, you know, that's what love is. And when someone say they love you, so what if they touching you inappropriately? Or so what if they are punching you in the face, or if they are doing all these aggressive behaviors or manipulation that, learning at a young age what love is. I found myself in a perpetual cycle of abuse and violence, and being used and abused, as well as not being allowed to talk about it, which is a common thing or common practice that takes place in the African American culture, or people of color culture, because I want to include the diaspora as well. That's just a common practice that we've all have been through. And from learning later on in life, even with the ethnic studies, you learn so much on how the major impact, the influence was from slavery. As far as like not being able to talk about things, seeing men getting castrated, knowing that your wife is getting raped, or even the husband could have been getting raped, or your son is getting sexually abused, or daughter is getting sexually abused, or forcing people to sleep with each other against their will, because at that point it was survival mode, and it just became a code of silence. So I think it even stemmed back from then, the code of silence, to not speak about it, to not talk about it, because the example would be what you get beheaded, or you're hung, or you're losing a limb or something. So I think it's been greatly embedded in our culture. And so and it's a shame, it's a shameful feeling and stuff as well. So I think that we need to open up that space to talk about it, because not talking about it, I didn't realize till later on, like much later, almost in my 30s, that I was living with PTSD. And so like for me, I personally did not meet the textbook identifiers of what an abused child was going through, especially when it came to like being sexually abused. Most things like acting out and stuff like that would be some textbook telltale signs. But for me, that wasn't the case. I was like the model student as far as academics, but then when I was getting bullied at the same time, I was a common denominator in all the fights. So it looked like I was the bully, and it took time before someone finally spoke up and said, no, she's not the bully. She's the person that's getting bullied. So it was a whole lot of mental downside to what I was going through. And so just me and anyone else who's going through abuse and violence, period, is just so important to understand the major impact of your mental health. You can't even get that back once you are exposed to those type of behaviors and experiences. You don't even know what your life would have been like had you not been exposed to it. So now you're kind of like living with an altered self, so to speak, because you never would know what your life would have been like had you not been exposed to such trauma. So yeah, we're gonna stop it right there on that. I don't have no one, being triggered or getting too emotional. So but yeah, it's very important to understand the impact of going through those things. So next, we're going to go into the ownership of your body. I feel that in our community, primarily, we always talk about if someone hits you, hit them back, right? But we never talk about if someone touched you inappropriately. And we never encourage our children to understand the sacredness of your body, and to understand the personal space that you have, and that you are the owner of your body. Yes, you have parents or guardians and stuff, but at the end of the day, your body is yours. And if something doesn't feel comfortable, or doesn't feel right, or make you feel uneasy, we should allow our children to feel like they have the platform or the space to say, I don't like that, or I don't like this. Oftentimes we even have, growing up and stuff, they say children, we're the most innocent when we're younger because we haven't experienced anything. So I think by nature, we have the closest relationship of energies and spirits, if that makes sense. And so when we promote children to give someone a hug, or, oh, that's ain't such, go, give them a hug, or that's Uncle whomever, and stuff like that, but a child doesn't want to, but we force them to do so, we kind of are starting the cycle of making them do things even when they feel uncomfortable in that particular space. Now, there's some things being uncomfortable is okay. And, it's still okay to encourage, like a child may not want to go audition in front of someone or do certain things. No, I'm not talking about that. It's a different level of being uncomfortable when it's dealing with your personal space.
Mhm.
So, but you have to be able to identify that. So I do want to say it's very important that we teach, children, and then any children or youth who are watching, to understand that you have ownership over your body. And that's for, who hugs you or who you don't want to hug, rather it's holding hands, or if you don't want to hold hands. And even, because a lot of times there's peer pressure when it comes to even intimacy, far as physical intimacy, because we have different types of intimacies, but I'm not talking about the intellectual intimacy and stuff like that. We have different, when it comes to intimacy, we want our youth to understand, especially youth of color, because you have media and peer pressure and external influences that pressures into like being sexually interactive or engaging with people, and you have ownership over your body. And trust me, you want to be able to be solid in your nose. You want to be solid in your nose, and if that person can't respect those boundaries, then they are violating you, and you have every right to say no and walk away. So it's very important to understand the ownership over your body. That's very, very important. And I think that needs to be taught early on, as early as possible. Like our daughter was like 4 years old, and she understood the ownership of her body. So a lot of times they'll tell you you should wait till they get older and stuff, but no, I think the sooner that you do it and have that conversation and dialogue with your child, or even if the child, if you're listening, if you have that conversation with your parent, the sooner you do that, the better it would be, especially with understanding how to set boundaries. So you have ownership over your body. So I want you to be mindful of that. Now we're going to go into talking about the different type of spaces. So what is personal space? Personal space is the physical space immediately surrounding someone into which any encroachment feels threatening to or uncomfortable for them. So we have, again, different types of personal space. We have public, social, personal, and intimate. I don't know how many of you heard about or know, like they always say, put your hands out. That's kind of like your personal space. Sometimes when we have our live in-person sessions, we use a hula hoop to demonstrate personal space. But yes, personal space is very, very, very important. And I'm pretty sure with COVID going on, some people are really understanding the importance of personal space. So then we have public personal space, which is a person's space in the general public. So it's like group work, presentations, shopping areas. When you're in the store and stuff, you're not, well, I do this. I don't know about you all, but even before COVID, I still wanted people to not be so close to me. Like if I don't know who you are or anything like that, or if we're not just having like a casual conversation, so COVID has helped that be enacted a little bit better. But yes, I personally don't like people in my personal space, even if I'm in like a general area and stuff. Then you have your social personal space, which is about 5 to 11 feet away from a person, like a restaurant setting, shopping centers as well, friends, family, and workspace. And then the personal intimate space is, 1.5 to 5 feet. So you could be, kind of close, depending on who you are, up to about 5 feet. And this is considered the closest a stranger may come. Only those that you're comfortable with can exceed this boundary line. So make sure that you understand that, like, I don't care if it's a doctor, mama, daddy, brother, cousin, even your intimate partner, because sometimes we want space, period, just as individuals. And it may not be something that someone is doing at that time. It's just that, we just need to have our, just let me have my 1.5 feet for the moment so you can, recuperate or think or whatever it is. But yes, your personal intimate space is the most intimate or close that someone can be that you allow, and that you have the authority to allow to be in your space or not be in your space. And you have the right to set those boundaries for yourself. So another thing that I do want to share is even like with the doctors and healthcare professionals and family members and stuff, I still want to note that it is important to still encourage yourself and even your child to be able to identify these boundaries, especially when it comes to personal and intimate space, because a lot of times what happens is we gain this level of trust, which kind of links to like someone who can groom somebody. And because we have this level of trust with these certain people, you're not thinking about it subconsciously, oh, that I'm being violated. So that's the same way like how you get so comfortable, or your child may get comfortable with someone grooming them. They're not subconsciously thinking, oh, something is wrong, because you already been conditioned to know, like, you know, whether it's a doctor, mother, father, grandparent, cousin, friend, relative, anyone, or a pastor, anybody that you hold into like a hierarchy or some level of authority, it's kind of like you are already conditioned to feel like, you know, they are supposed to be in this space. But it's very important to identify and understand when it's okay for them to be in this personal space. So that's very important, because that's, again, as I mentioned before, that's what pedophiles and perpetrators do. They groom you and they get you ready, they get you real comfortable and stuff like that. Then next thing you know, something is happening, and even though you feel like something is wrong, but you're not quite sure, because this person has been they have been grooming you to feel comfortable around them within your personal space. So you want to be very mindful of that as well. Any questions before we go to private and precious areas? Okay, cool. All right, so private and precious areas are often described as areas that are covered by undergarments or swim clothing. So when it comes to the private and precious areas, what I like to encourage, and we do this as well, is for those zones or places on your body, no secrets. And basically we all know what secrets are, but secrets are something that is kept or meant to be kept unknown or unseen by others. But when it comes to the safe zones on your body, the parts that are precious and private, I always say we don't use the word secrets. No secrets. Because when someone says, you know, this is our secret, and it's dealing especially with those spots that are covered by, you know, swim clothing, or, you know, whatever you consider to be private and precious, oftentimes when the word secret is used, it's not something good that is taking place or that has happened. So you'll often hear someone say, don't tell no one. I don't care if you don't want to. If you tell, you're going to make such and such mad and sad. Like, for example, with me, I was told, if you tell your mama, you know, she's going to get angry. My mother did have an anger problem. And so because she had an anger issue, they were using that to know if I told her that I was being violated by them. It was like, take your pick, either deal with what I'm doing, or do you want to deal with the anger of your mother? So yeah, so they will often do that, tell you, you know, you're going to make somebody mad or sad. And then if you don't say anything, I will get you some ice cream, or I will give you $10, or whatever it is that this person who's been grooming you know that you really want. They will use that also as a carrot to get you to comply. Keep this a secret, it's okay. All these different things are things that are often said when someone is in that space, that real intimate space on your body, or interacting with your body. So you want to make sure that no secrets aren't allowed. And we just make a rule where we really don't use the word secret. We use other words like surprise and trying to think of what the other word is, but surprise is like one of the main words that we use. So therefore, because obviously if someone is touching our child and they say the word secret, she will already be alarmed that something is not right, because we don't use secrets, especially when it's dealing with that. So no one's not going to say, keep this as a surprise. So but yeah, so no secrets. Stranger danger. This is a very important topic because stranger danger is often depicted as a random person you don't know, even in Hollywood, TV, schools. Anytime someone's teaching stranger danger, they always are depicting or saying it's somebody you don't know. And I tell people true stranger danger is really the other side of someone you do know. So yes, this is my dad, or this is my mother, or their significant other, or my grandparent, or best friend, or whomever, but they have this other side to them that I don't know. That's the stranger. That's the real stranger danger. Because statistics do show that over 90% of sexual abuse victims are abused by someone they know. And the average age of first abuse is 9 to 10 years old. And then over 65% of sexual abuse is not reported. Of course, that's a cultural thing as well. And our goal is to try to break that cycle so we can try to get this addressed sooner than later. So again, remember, true stranger danger is someone you know. And again, you can, the statistics show it's like a high 90% percentile in which when you are getting abused, it is by someone in your close inner circle. So it's really 10% of a random person, if you think about it, and probably a little bit under 10%. So that's something to keep in mind. Then we also want the youth to understand about safe codes or safe words, which I know they tried to introduce that at some point in time in the education system, but I think they kind of went away from it. But it's very important to have safe codes or safe words, which can be used to ensure that whoever is to have access to you is supposed to have access to you. So for an example, and children are very resilient, and they're very smart and witty as well. So even if mom and dad may pretend like everything's okay, children still know when something is wrong, and so, or if Aunt Lisa was supposed to pick you up from school, or was picking you up from school every day, but there's something happened and they're no longer supposed to be picking you up from school, no matter how much you love being with Aunt Lisa, safe words and code words. If your parents don't want you to go, if Miss Lisa don't know that code word for the day, you can't go with Miss Lisa, because you never know. People snap. We see people sadly who end the lives of their children, taking lives of themselves and other family members, and just doing some real horrendous things. And so we really, really push having safe codes or safe words. And we also encourage, when anything is changing, any dynamics that are changing with the guardian or adult who's over seeing the child, or who's responsible for the child, that you change those words. Because Aunt Lisa might have known that the code word was cookie. Well, guess what? If the code word got changed to soda pop, and Aunt Lisa coming saying cookie, no, you can't go with Aunt Lisa. Something ain't right, because mommy or daddy or whoever your guardian is, they decided to change the code word. And if Aunt Lisa don't have that code word, sorry, you can't. I know Aunt Lisa takes you to go get your favorite Happy Meal or ice cream or treat, but if Aunt Lisa does not know that code word for that day, you can't go with Aunt Lisa. But I think it's very important that we teach these type of boundaries and safety protocols for our youth, so they can understand the importance of setting boundaries. And I think that that will help so much later on in life, how to set and enforce those boundaries, no matter who the person is. Because oftentimes we often find ourselves where, because it's family, we allow family to have several passes, when a lot of times it's family who are abusing those passes. So another thing that I do also, I choose to use the word relatives over family. And the reason why I do that is because when we use the word family, it makes you feel obligated, to not tell, or to not get them in trouble, or to not be mean or hold them accountable, because that's another thing we have issue with, is accountability. So I choose to say relatives. I'm related to you. Yes, we're related by blood, but you did XYZ, so you're going to be held accountable. So it's very important, I think, that we teach our children at a young age, or at any age, and even for adults, to just learn how to walk in that zone and in that lane, to put those boundaries in place and understand, look, family won't hurt you. Family will be supportive. Family will tell you the truth. Family will acknowledge what needs to be acknowledged. They will take accountability. Relatives will use and abuse you in any shape, form, or fashion. And they'll try to use the blood card to get a pass. So, and that's why we find ourselves as a culture broken, period, whether it's dealing with abuse in this form or abuse in other forms. We have to set those boundaries so we can have a stronger community in general. So boundaries are very important. I think you can start at any age, and it's better late than never.
And I have a quick question, if that's okay, Miss K.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay.
Anyone else has questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or come off of mute. But for the code words, in this scenario, it was more so for people who have the approval to pick you up. Can code words also be used to let folks know that you're not safe? Like maybe you don't want to be very explicit about it, but you can say pineapples, and then the mom knows, like, ooh, this person, okay.
Yes, yes. That is so true. Thanks for bringing that up. That is very true. You can use code words and safe words in any shape, form, or fashion. So even like going to school, right? Maybe for even like with a counselor or a teacher or someone that a student may feel more comfortable with, maybe the teacher or counselor can tell the students, hey, anytime if you don't feel safe at home, because the thing is we have this thing of we don't want to get involved in other people's business. But back then we were so strong with it takes a village that when someone do something, the whole community is going to hold you accountable. So teachers and counselors can actually say, when they talk to their students or whatever, because a parent could be there and a parent may not be aware of this. And that would be the point, because if the parent is the abuser, you don't want the parent to know that the child is given a code word that seems normal and natural to a counselor to alarm them that, hey, I'm being abused. Now, people may not like this theory and stuff, but it's true. Like, we have to take, if you're not going to love the child that you're raising, then let someone else do it. And that's kind of like what my take is, because there's so many people that have been broken and stuff because of how the system is, or because they don't want to be involved, in other people's business and stuff. And yes, it could be dangerous, but like for me, if I could save or help one life, I'm like, I've done my purpose. And so, and children, of course they're resilient and stuff, but they're very innocent also. And they know they don't want to hurt nobody, but what about them when they're getting hurt? And even as a victim, that's what we as victims often went through, or we battle in our brains. Oh, well, I'll just, suppress what I'm feeling because I want everybody to be happy. I lived it. I've done it for about 26, 27 years of my life, and it's like, but what about me? And the moment you decide to speak up, then everyone want to look at you like something is wrong. And you're like, wait a minute, I gave you 27 years of my life of silence. It's my turn to live now. So, but yes, we have to get back to that village. And I think even with all this that's going on now, that we're seeing how we are able to rely on each other, and we see some of us, the people of color coming together trying to support each other. You have some, have other agendas, but for the most part, people like you and even Melanin Waves and some of the other ones, like, you really have a true passion to help the community and culture grow and move forward. And that's what we need. We need that village. We need that connectivity. We need that growth. So the same way with our children and our youth, we have to stand up for them. We have to speak up for them. And when we see something wrong, we have to do the accountability. We have to hold them accountable. So, but yeah, that was a great question there. Great question. But yes, it can be used in any way for someone picking a child up, or for someone to send a message to somebody else, so they can know, okay, something is going on, because then that teacher can, probably later on come and talk to the child and see, if the child's ready to open up or share any additional information. So yes, that would be very awesome. That's good. Good question.
Nice, thank you. And
So,
Melanin Way says thank you for the shout out too.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. My sister in Cali.
Yep.
So now to the meat and potatoes, the head and heart connection, and it's something that you already know. We always talk about intuition and that gut feeling. So basically, the head and heart connection is when you identify that your head and your heart are in sync with each other. So when your head and heart feels uneasy or uncomfortably at odds, you should know that something is wrong. So again, when it comes to those boundaries, when you are giving in and you really don't want to, something is wrong. You know, if someone is touching you in a certain way, no matter who they are, and you feel uncomfortable, but because of their level of authority, you don't want to say anything, something is wrong. So that means your head and heart is not aligned with each other. You know, we talk about, you know, being in this space with energy. You know, and again, as I mentioned earlier on, children are very innocent and they come into this world and all they really are interacting with is energy until they encounter experiences, right? So when they don't want to, you know, indulge or speak or interact with someone, it's not always, oh, they just have a bad attitude or something is wrong. No, it may be that energy that we can't see, but they can sense to know that something is wrong. So I always say, like, for example, um, if you want something to eat, right, and you've been craving, you know, I don't eat beef, so I'm gonna say a turkey burger. So I've been craving a turkey burger, right? I really, really want that. But if I eat spaghetti, yes, I did, you know, answer my hunger, but I'm still gonna be kind of like, you know, because that's not what I wanted. You know, yes, I did get to eat, but that's not what I wanted. And so and that's how I explain it to the children to make them understand a little better. You know, when you eat something, but you really didn't want that, but you had to kind of eat that just because, that's almost kind of how the head and heart disconnect takes place. You want to make sure that whatever it is, you know, even when it's your passion of something, you know, when your head and heart is aligned and it's something that you really want to do and you have that head and heart connection, go for it. So, and it's, again, same thing when we're dealing with abuse and violence in your personal space. Anytime when someone's in that personal space and it makes you feel uncomfortable, hey, you got to say something. And we need to teach them to say something and to speak up. And that's even for adults too. You know, some people try to shy away from it because some adults don't want to be an adult, you know, and they're immature. But again, we have to start setting these parameters to understand the importance of boundaries. And boundaries aren't to hurt anyone, they're actually to help you. You know, just like when you go to certain places, boundaries are set in place. If you go past this point and you're on a mountain and you don't follow those boundaries, well, guess what? You might fall off the cliff, you know? So, or if you're not a good swimmer and these boundaries are set for beginning swimmers and you go to the deep end, well, someone may have to come and rescue you. So boundaries are very, 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 very important. So you want to make sure your head and heart are aligned and you are able to feel positive things. One thing like that I do, some exercises we do, we say certain words. Like some people, when they say certain colors, they feel certain movement within their bodies. And that's what that color does for them. You know, you may feel music or something a certain way. And so that's kind of like how you can feel into the head and heart connection as well. Just practicing being in tune with yourself and see how certain things make you feel. And when something seems out of line, that's when you know something isn't right, you know. So, and that's, again, that's with anything, but particularly, you know, when it comes to being uncomfortable with that boundaries in those personal spaces, you know, you want to make sure your head and heart is aligned. And when it's not aligned, that is your signal that something is wrong. Do we have
So,
any
you
other
know,
questions? Go ahead.
someone put in the chat, I'm not gonna put anyone on blast on it, but saying that even as an adult, like we sometimes still experience these uncomfortable situations, whether it's in the workplace and someone's putting their hand in a sensitive area, or a coworker, supervisor. Do you have advice for adults trying to make a, you know, I think we've been focusing on the youth a little bit, but even our adults in certain work environments may be at risk, and how do you know, protect yourself while also protecting your income, your work environment?
Right. So, and that's always a touchy and tricky and political thing, right? We even seen the sad situation with Vanessa Guillen, right? She was in the military because she was a native Houstonian. She was in the military, and it's always been this environment where, like, even in the military, when you're being sexually assaulted, you couldn't say nothing. So I'm very grateful that they finally enacted some law to where they can report outside of the military. But me personally, what I would suggest is keep a record, right? A lot of times we don't want to keep records. Keep a record, because of course you want to keep your job, right? But if you have to go ahead and speak out and follow the chain of command on trying to get these boundaries to be enforced, at least you will have a record of all the different incidents, right? So it's not like you're just pulling it out your head. And then another thing is, it's you should be able, and most workplaces have where they have sexual harassment protocol. You should be able to at least follow that. But what I would do is, if when you reach out to do the sexual harassment protocol or talk about safe space, you can even talk to your manager. But if it's your manager, obviously you need to go above them or just go to the sexual harassment protocol altogether, because sometimes it can be very uncomfortable speaking to those that you are subordinate to when it comes to abuse and violence. So I would say keep a record, and if it's not your manager, I will tell the manager, and you can actually tell the person too. And if that person doesn't like it, then that means their intentions were not authentic in the first place, right? So what I would do is keep a record. I will tell the person, but to cover your tracks, not only will I tell the person, I will let the manager know, right? Or whoever you feel comfortable higher up to know. And then you could go through the sexual harassment route as well. But when you're keeping your record, that's for you. That's to cover yourself. So I wouldn't even say, oh yeah, I have a record about, you present that when you need to present that. Or well, seriously, or you present that and go to the police, because that's another thing. If you feel like the sexual harassment route is not working, you can still cover yourself and take it to the police. Look, because you already have a record, which the police is going to want in the first place. And then even if you go to sexual harassment route, that could be, you got the record for that as well. And so to me, anytime when your body doesn't feel safe, or when you feel like someone is encroaching on your personal space, that's a form of sexual assault. Like, a lot of people think of sexual assault just having to deal with the sexual interaction of your personal parts or your sacred parts. But anytime, even someone having a conversation, if someone's having a conversation that doesn't even include you, but it makes you feel uncomfortable, and it may be on the brinks of sexual points or factors of conversation, that is a form of sexual assault as well. You're just like a third party or second party to it, but it made you feel uncomfortable. So, but I hope I answered your question, but that's what I would do. I would definitely keep personal record. And then tell someone else that you're comfortable with who may not be in a workspace, so that way you can always have a witness that you shared this with someone. Just not to go too deep into it, but I even had personal experiences. I know other people who have personal experiences where we didn't tell, we may have told one person, or some people, or someone may not told nobody at all. And then you're finding yourself like in a space where no one believes you. So you want to make sure that you are able to have someone else who could vouch, even though you have this record that you've been keeping for yourself, but you have someone else who could say, oh no, she did tell me about XYZ, and that this was taking place, and they did tell their supervisor, they did tell this person, and this, that, and so forth. So you want to cover yourself, because the goal is to make yourself feel comfortable. And if someone can't respect your boundaries, then they don't need to be within your boundary. So I hope I answered that. If not, let me know.
Yeah, I like the last line. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries, they don't deserve to be in your boundaries. Love it. Yeah, you answered the question beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next, we're going to talk about safe persons. I kind of hint on it a little bit, but this is even more importantly for our youth. But adults can use it as well. I like to encourage you to think of 3 people besides your mom, dad, and primary teacher that you can talk to if something uncomfortable happens to you or someone you know. And the reason why I do this is because oftentimes when something happens, again, we go through this authority figure, right? If your mom or dad is the person touching on you, and then who you're going to tell, right? You're not going to tell them because they're the ones that are doing it. So, or like if your teacher is bullying you, well, you're not going to tell the teacher that, you know, hey, you're bullying me. You need to be able to tell someone else. So I always try to push the envelope so the youth can think, you know, a little bit beyond the surface on some other people that they could tell. Not saying they can't tell those people, but it's like I want them to have a backup plan just in case those people are the ones who are abusing them. So you know, you have a grandparent, librarian, friend, a sibling, a counselor, and then sometimes just an outright stranger, someone that you actually don't know, can actually help you as well. Would I consider that to be on the top list? No, but if this is like a life death type flight type situation and the stranger is like the immediate person who could possibly help you, then of course, you know, you want to use that resource. But if you have time to like think it through and kind of think about it and reach out and really look into it, then you want to use someone that you have more of a connection with.
And should you define these safe people once something happens or before something happens?
I would like to do it as a preventative measure, so that way you already know. Because oftentimes once something happens, you're proceeding through trauma at this point. So once you have the traumatic experience, sometimes you may not can think as clear as you would have if you already had this in place. And that's the same thing when we go and talk to people about safety planning, who's for people who are victims of domestic violence. You don't want to wait until then. You kind of want to, when there's, because you know, domestic violence, not to go off tangent, it has a cycle, and you have your ups and downs, and usually you could kind of pinpoint where you are in the cycle. And so you want to make sure when you are doing your planning, you're in the part where the cycle is not bad. So that way, when the cycle gets bad, if you stay, you already have your plan already ready. You know, the hopes is not to stay in it, period, but you want to make sure that you have this as preventative measures as well. So yes, that's a good question. You want to make sure that you can identify these people ahead of time, so it could be like muscle memory, where you can already know something is happening, you know, and if this person's not available, you know your backup, and you know the backup to the backup. So
Gotcha.
okay, so we have some scenarios for you. I'm gonna try to go through them real briefly. So your parent or guardian gave you a new safe code word today. Your aunt comes to pick you up and uses the code word from yesterday. What do you do? Do you leave with her, or do you stay and wait for mom or dad or call to see what's going on? If someone's commenting, I can't see.
Let's see what the chat looks like. I mean, I know the answer. I've been taking notes.
Okay, good.
So I'm gonna say no. I'm not going with Auntie that day.
Right, exactly. You will not be going with Auntie that day. Next, you have your meeting with your teacher for help with a project. And while working on a project, you begin to feel uncomfortable. What do you do? Do you stay? Do you leave? Do you say something to the teacher, or you wait and say something afterwards?
I would say, if anyone wants to unmute, feel free, or write your comments in the chat. In that situation, I would go ahead and say that. Oh, we go. Melanie Wade says she would just leave. Right there. No, don't play in that at all. I was leaning towards just saying that I'm uncomfortable and seeing if the behavior changes at all.
Yes. And sometimes another silent sign to show someone you're uncomfortable is adjusting your body language. right? So like if you feel uncomfortable because that person's in that space and you move over or you shift your body weight or something and they still are impeding in your space, yeah, that's not cool. That's, you know, now you're gonna be like, okay, can you give me some space?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're in my space. So cool. Next thing is you have a friend that likes you more than just a friend and starts grabbing your hand to hold your hand. You do not want to hold hands. What do you do?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like this is probably a common middle school, high school situation for sure.
Yes. So I would say, because we didn't touch on it too much for the sake of time, but one thing that you can do is, because if this person is supposed to be a friend, they should be able to understand that, you know, you just want to be friends and that you're not comfortable holding hands with them. And if they cannot understand that and they don't respect that, then more likely they probably really should not be your friend, you know, or you may have to put that space in between so that boundary could be understood, that no, we just, you know, want to be friends. Next, you have a friend that talks about someone who seems to be struggling or less fortunate. What do you do?
Mm.
And the only reason why I bring this up, because this kind of goes into like bullying and stuff. And again, abuse is abuse, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. And I know we always have that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. But I'm always taking a flip side of things, and it's because of personal experiences. I've had fights and stuff, but I've healed from wounds. But words, you can't, once they leave your mouth and they're out in the universe, no matter how apologetic someone is, your brain still retains that information. Your heart still retains that information, your psyche. So to me, words are actually more hurtful than even the physical encounters at times. So I would suggest you tell that person, you know, that that's not nice, that's not cool. You know, that that person may not be as fortunate. You know, I would talk to that friend, and if that person is your friend, again, they will understand and respect the boundaries, and either they will stop, or if they're going to continue, they're not going to do it in front of you. But a true friend would just stop and, you know, and try to empathize with what you're feeling in respect to the person they're talking about who's less fortunate.
Mm.
And then a relative purposely invades your personal space. What do you do? Do you just let them invade the space? Do you shout, scream? If y'all have a code word in the house, you yell it out real loud. Anything?
Yep, I'm going with the stop or the code word, and then letting someone know immediately, whoever your safe person is, grandparent, counselor.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. So of course you want to make sure you tell a trusted adult, and trust is in the eyes of the person to be entrusted who wants to accept the trust, right? So again, we talk about old parents or pastors or certain people should be trustworthy, and most of them are, but just like the scenario with, you got the good cops and bad cops, right? But the bad cops will make the apple, you know, spoil the bunch. So, you know, the same thing with some of these other people who are in trustworthy positions. So you want to make sure that it is someone you trust, and that you do say something, because if you don't say something, then the other person that is doing the action will think it's okay. So you want to make sure that that boundary is set in stone immediately, or as soon as you safely can do so, because we do want to keep you safe.
What do you mean by
So go ahead.
You mean by safely can do so? Can you break that down a little bit?
So sometimes, for an example, if someone is invading your space and you want to tell, but then you know that you have a very aggressive parent and they might be in an aggressive state, which can cause harm to you, that might not be a good time to kind of tell them that, because they're not even in a mental space to even receive what you are telling them. That doesn't mean that you can't tell someone else. You just may have to sadly keep it to yourself until you're able to tell someone else who could better receive it, which means if it happened at home, you may have to wait till the next morning, which is uncomfortable and it's sad. and I hate it, but that may be the best thing to do, because you never know, when someone's not in the space to receive it, you don't know what type of action or behavior they may exude upon you. So of course, my main thing is to make sure you're safe at all costs. So yes, you want to make sure that you tell when you're safely able to do so. And because we're not in a perfect world, and we would hope that our parents would embrace the information that we're sharing, or your experience that you share with them, but that's not always the case. So we want to make sure that you share that information when you're safely able to do so. And you always can call the police too. So in closing, I have created my self promise, which was created to inspire you to feel empowered about your body, your feelings, and perceptions. And I just want to read it. I'm gonna try not to go too fast, but not too slow as well. But this is what we share with our youth so they can understand the importance of their personal space. I have the right to love myself unconditionally. I have the right to protect myself and my feelings. I have the right to set my personal boundaries. I have the right to walk away. I have the right to say stop. I have the right to say no. I have the right to love myself unconditionally. I have the right to require others to respect my personal space. I have the right to know when something feels wrong. I have the right to walk away. I have the right to say stop. I have the right to say no. I have the right to love myself unconditionally. I have the right to be honest with myself. I have the right to go tell someone I trust. I have the right to walk away. I have the right to say stop. I have the right to say no. I have the right to love myself unconditionally. I have the right to reach out for support and guidance. I have the right to deal with my emotions. I have the right to walk away. I have the right to say stop. I have the right to say no. And the reason for the repetition is so it could be embedded and ingrained in our youth, in our culture, that we have the right to walk away. We have the right to say stop. We have the right to say no. And we also have the right to love ourselves unconditionally and seek the help that we believe we need, and not be concerned with what others think about us getting that help or loving ourselves unconditionally. So yes, so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope there was something that I shared with you that you're able to take back with you, or and that you're able to incorporate in your daily lives, your lifestyle, your homes, with youth in the community. Please be safe and healthy, feel empowered. You can make yourself be the best you. Okay, so again, make sure you are doing your mental health checks. Make sure that you are setting those boundaries, and that you follow the boundaries too as well, because if you give in, other people are going to think they could do the same thing. So again, be safe, healthy, and empowered. And please connect with us. You can visit us at abusesreal.com. Follow us on Instagram at A.I.R project. That's A.I.R project. Twitter, believe your A.I.R, and you can email us at air@abusesreal.com. So thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed.
Love it. We can please give a virtual round of applause for Miss K and the A.I.R Project. A lot of love in here. And what I love is being able to, again, take it. There we go. We got some stuff in there. Thank you, Melody Ways. I see you dealt with claps. Much love, much love. Love being able to take your own personal story, experiences, traumas, and be able to help other people. So we all have our own, stories and experiences, our own superpowers and our gifts. So may this
Yes.
be an amazing example of taking your energy and being able to help other people, teach other people. So love to see.
Yes.
Have a
Thank you so
few,
much.
of course, Ms. K. Have a few notes that we were taking. So some things from today's takeaways is one, danger, right? Dangerous, unsafe, and even inappropriate behavior can be experienced around strangers, or 90% is people that you actually know, people you have a relationship with. So definitely make sure that you're staying safe and you're realizing that danger can come from the relatives and people around you. Number two, safety. Be sure to find your 2 to 3 safe people that you can count on. These can be parents, non family members, counselors, I think Miss K even said it can be a perfectly safe stranger, right? But find yourself
Right.
2 or 3 people. And then lastly, be vocal. So be sure you have the right to say no. You have the right to say stop. Be sure to say when you are uncomfortable in a situation, and you can create code words with your safe people so that they know when things are a little bit off, when the energy or the vibe is a little bit off. If anyone
Exactly.
Yeah, love it, love it. So if y'all have other notes, feel free to put it inside the comments, put it inside the chat. But as Ms. K said, we appreciate y'all for joining. Definitely go ahead and follow and support A.I.R Project on Instagram and at abusesreal.com. Follow our new Instagram account at IMI Black Studies, and then you can find more resources, this recorded course, and other past recorded courses on imifoundation.com. Before we get out of here, any one of our guests want to say anything or put something in the chat? Energy, just want to make sure we give the open floor before we officially close out.
Well, Devon, I had one thing that I wanted to share. So, Ms. K, great content, learned a lot from the session. What I love most about the content is you're not only arming young kids and or all people who to stop from being abused or keep from being abused. The more and more you spread this message, you're really actually informing the would-be abusers that their potential victims are educated and trained to avoid being abused. So you're really hitting it on both sides. So I really like the content.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
No, it was a great point. Great point.
Yes.
All right, beautiful people. So again, stay healthy, stay safe out there, and we appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace, y'all.
Thank you.